Welcome to Star Watch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
He didn't raise his voice. He didn't smile to soften the moment. He didn't turn it into a joke. He simply said it. Marriage is still very far away. In an industry built on perfect timing, perfect answers, and perfectly rehearsed emotions, that sentence landed like a quiet disruption. Not because it was dramatic, but because it refused to be. For someone the public sees as disciplined, successful, and endlessly moving forward, those words felt out of place. Almost uncomfortable. People expected ambition. They expected confidence. They expected a life plan already mapped out. What they didn't expect was distance or honesty. Within seconds, the comment section ignited. Some were confused, some were disappointed. Others felt something far more unsettling. Recognition, because behind the fame, behind the polished appearances and relentless schedules, that sentence echoed a truth many people carry but rarely say out loud. Not ready, not now, not yet. This wasn't a rejection of love or commitment. It was a pause. And pauses are dangerous in a world that demands constant progress. That is why this moment didn't fade after the clip ended. It lingered. It followed viewers into their own lives, their own unfinished decisions, their own quiet exhaustion. And once that door was opened, it became impossible to close. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about one person. It was about the cost of always moving forward without asking whether the body, the mind, and the heart can still keep up. What most people never see is how tightly time is packed behind the scenes. Days that begin before dawn and end long after the body has stopped responding. Schedules measured in minutes rather than hours. Rest treated not as recovery, but as something to postpone. Even silence becomes rare. When life moves at that pace, the idea of building something else, something deeply personal and emotionally demanding, doesn't feel romantic. It feels overwhelming. There is a quiet misconception that success creates space. In reality, it often consumes it. The higher the expectations climb, the less room there is to breathe. When people say, "He has everything," they rarely ask what it costs to maintain that image. They don't see the physical strain, the mental fatigue, the constant pressure to remain consistent even when the body signals otherwise. Strength, when performed every day, becomes another form of labor. That is why another sentence from that same conversation resonated just as deeply. The admission that the flawless image of public figures is largely an illusion. Not a lie, but a construction. Carefully maintained, carefully lit, carefully protected. Beneath it are ordinary human limits. Tired muscles, waning focus. Moments when motivation fades, not because of failure, but because the pace has been relentless for too long. What made this moment truly shift, however, was not the statement itself, but the response it received. No correction, no expectation, no attempt to steer the conversation back towards something safer. Just a gentle reminder to block out the noise and listen inward. A message that did not demand answers, but permission. Permission to pause, permission to hesitate, permission to choose well-being over performance. That permission is rare, especially for men. From an early age, certainty is praised. Decisiveness is rewarded. Doubt is quietly discouraged. Yet real life is rarely lived in straight lines. Careers change direction, feelings evolve, energy depletes. The ability to say "not yet" becomes an act of self-awareness rather than weakness. When that idea entered the conversation, the tone online began to shift. Viewers stopped debating timelines and started sharing experiences. Men spoke about burnout without naming it, about carrying expectations they never consciously accepted, about feeling behind while running at full speed. Women spoke about recognizing the same fatigue in partners, friends, and themselves. The story widened. It stopped being commentary and became reflection. What makes this moment powerful is not its rarity, but its familiarity. Many people have imagined a future version of themselves, complete and settled, only to realize they are still trying to survive the present. The gap between expectation and reality creates guilt. This moment offered something else: understanding. It suggested that fulfillment cannot be rushed into existence, and that forcing readiness only leads to quiet resentment. There is also something important about what was not said. No promises were made, no plans announced. The narrative did not pivot toward reassurance. It stayed honest. That restraint allowed the audience to stay with the feeling instead of being guided away from it. In an online culture addicted to resolution, unresolved honesty feels radical. New conversations emerged from that space, about redefining success beyond milestones, about learning to recognize exhaustion before it becomes collapse, about allowing ambition and contentment to coexist without conflict. Some viewers began to ask different questions of their own lives. Not, what should I have achieved by now, but what am I actually capable of sustaining? That shift is subtle, but lasting. Because once people begin measuring their lives by internal alignment rather than external approval, the rules change. Progress slows, but meaning deepens. The story moves away from spectacle and toward substance. And perhaps that is why this moment continues to circulate. Not because it offered answers, but because it legitimized uncertainty. It reminded people that readiness cannot be scheduled, and that choosing oneself, even temporarily, is not failure. It is maintenance. It is care. In a world that applauds endurance but rarely acknowledges recovery, hearing someone step back without apology feels quietly revolutionary. It challenges the idea that worth is tied to momentum. It suggests that pausing does not mean falling behind. Sometimes it simply means staying intact. If this story stayed with you, perhaps it's because it reflects something you haven't given yourself permission to say yet. And if so, that pause might be exactly where clarity begins. Thank you for staying with this story. At Star Watch Now, we focus on the moments beneath the headlines, where real lives quietly unfold behind public images. If you found meaning here, consider subscribing to the channel and turning on notifications so you don't miss future stories like this. Your support allows us to continue sharing thoughtful, human-centered narratives that go beyond surface-level news. Leave a comment if this story resonated with you, or if it sparked a reflection you didn't expect. We appreciate you being here, and we look forward to exploring more untold moments together on Star Watch Now.